Now, Xi Jinping has met with Vladimir Putin dozens of times, but this will be his first visit to Moscow since Putin's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. It's also Xi's first trip abroad since he was granted a historic third term as president. For more on the talks, I'm joined by our international affairs commentator, Douglas Herbert. Doug, good morning.
Good morning again.
Now, the way you see it, they describe this as a partnership, but for you, you really think that Xi Jinping is the one who has the power here?
Yeah, first of all, they described it as more than just a partnership, right? Last year, on the eve of the February 2022 invasion during the Winter Olympics, both of these leaders described their partnership as a friendship with no limits, unlimited friendship, big terms, right? This is an extremely lopsided relationship. Yes, we're going to have the smiley photo ops of both leaders standing shoulder to shoulder, united against what they both see as a hegemonic, lecturing, sermonizing West, a West that is on the decline, read United States. But beyond that, look, Xi, as you just said, is coming into this three-day state visit in Moscow with Putin, basically as a leader who has just been rubber-stamped by his parliament to an unprecedented third term as Chinese president. So he's perhaps the most powerful Chinese leader in generations. He's also emerging now with some new muscle flexing on the diplomatic world stage. Right, he just brokered that deal, helped broker it in Beijing between Iran and Saudi Arabia. So he's emerging in a diplomatic sort of strut in his step. He's also now the leader who is no longer just vying with the United States for economic supremacy. China is now a power that has entered a new chapter, a new era on the diplomatic stage. It is now just taking on the U.S. head on in the ideological fight. This is a battle now for ideological supremacy against the United States that China, playing the long game, is absolutely convinced is in decline and that it's only a matter of time before it overtakes it. That is the Xi Jinping who is going to step up and shake up Putin's hand today. A Putin who obviously will be playing sort of the macho leader with, nothing to see here, carry on, I'm just fine, everything's going smoothly, but in fact is right now the new target of an international arrest warrant issued last Friday by the International Criminal Court. Yes, a warrant that Russia has blown off, dismissed as legally void, insignificant, having absolutely no weight. It doesn't care. And to prove it, Putin spent the weekend touring Crimea, 9th anniversary of the illegal annexation there, going to Mariupol, Russian-occupied Mariupol, devastated, pulverized by Russian forces, now being rebuilt, in quotes. So he's going to try to project strength. He's not. He's much more in a groveling position to Xi. Putin needs Xi Jinping a lot more than Xi Jinping needs Putin. Putin serves Xi's purposes pragmatically now as he seeks to project himself as a leader in a new 21st century on the world stage. Russia's helpful for now. Putin desperately needs Xi, his support to prop him up, to lend him legitimacy when he's the subject of an international arrest warrant, and to show that Putin can still play host to world leaders despite that arrest warrant. See? I'm still doing business. Nothing's changed.
And Xi Jinping has also reached out to Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. Doug, how does Ukraine see this visit, and how are its allies looking at it as well?
Yeah, well, look, Ukraine is obviously in private, and not so private, aghast at what Xi Jinping and Chinese officials present as their 12-point peace plan. A peace plan that never in any single line or point calls for Russian troops to withdraw. A peace plan that condemns what it calls unilateral sanctions against Russia. Let's be clear, Zelensky knows that China has never once, not once, condemned the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Instead, what has China done? All along, it has vaguely, ambiguously, mushily talked about both sides recognizing the territorial integrity and the sovereignty of the other. So this ridiculous diplomatic exercise in false equivalency, if you will, this is a sham peace plan. Zelensky knows it, but Zelensky's no dope. He also knows, given what I just said, China is, whether you like it or not, going to be a paramount, a giant player in world politics, not just in the next decades, but right now. You have to reckon with China. You can't ruffle China's feathers. Zelensky's looking beyond to how this war is going to end eventually. He knows China's going to be a big part of it. On the anniversary of Russia's invasion last month, February 24th, what Zelensky said is that he plans to meet with Xi to discuss the outcome of the war. Now, Beijing obviously hasn't taken him up on that offer yet, but what we have here is a clear recognition by Zelensky and top Ukrainian officials. They don't want to rile China too much. They're watching these talks play out. They are aware that these are sham talks. Obviously, they don't think anything good for Ukraine is going to emerge from them, but Zelensky knows he needs to keep China on side. He's not going to alienate Xi Jinping. So yeah, watching these talks, a little aghast, a little wary, but at the same time knowing they have to look beyond. They have to have a slightly pragmatic element to their approach.
Yeah, and a lot going on under the surface of these talks. Doug, thank you so much for breaking it down for us. That's our international affairs commentator, Douglas Herbert.